Hi and welcome to EPG Pathshala. This is Professor Srinivas Reddy, a retired professor of public administration, Kakti University, Warangal, Telangana State. Today we have for presentation the contributions of Max Weber to administrative theory. Max Weber is a major thinker in the field of administrative theory. I'm reminded of a high compliment paid to Max Weber, which says any student of social science simply doesn't know the name of Max Weber is not worth being a student of social science. What the compliment means is that Max Weber is such an encyclopedic writer who has made contributions to the entire gamut of social sciences. Students of law, psychology, sociology, public administration, political science, and so many other disciplines need to understand the views of Max Weber because he has made some or the other valuable contribution to their body of knowledge. In this presentation, we will first see the life and works of Max Weber. Secondly, we will see his contributions to the theory of bureaucracy, which is known as the ideal type bureaucracy. And thirdly, we will see a critique of Max Weber, and we close with some general assessment of Max Weber's contributions to the field of public administration. We come to his biodata or biosketch. Max Weber was born in the year 1864 in Prussia, which is present-day Germany, and he died in the year 1920. Max Weber started his teaching career at Berlin University in Germany in the year 1882. He became a professor in the year 1894 at Freiburg University in Germany. He started a left-wing political party in the year 1912. He was also among the founders of the liberal German Democratic Party. He also drafted the ill-fated Weimar Constitution in the year 1919 in Germany. Max Weber was a great sociologist, but has made contribution to history, sociology, psychology, political science, public administration, comparative religion, etc. and etc. Now we come to some of his major contributions. The first important contribution Max Weber has made is to rationalization and issue of individual freedom in an increasingly rational society. He made some contribution to reconciling individual liberty in the context of rationality. He gave great importance to reason as a dependable source of human action. And he prefers reason to be the basis for action as contrasted to magic and tradition. In the medieval and then modernizing societies, many people were in the hold of magic and tradition. But Weber asserted that reason is a more dependable basis for action. One of the important contributions of Max Weber is to the typology of authority. Max Weber says that authority is of three types, basing on the legitimacy. Now, the concept of legitimacy is very important to understand Max Weber's concept of authority. Authority, according to Max Weber, is something which is accepted as legitimate. Now, people accept authority on the basis of three things. Authority is command of superior, or authority is accepting somebody's influence on you. You are accepting somebody's influence as legitimate, as reasonable, as something that is proper because of three reasons. And these three reasons are tradition. The second reason is charisma. The third reason is law and reason. The first is tradition. Father's authority in the family, husband's authority over the wife, the tribal chief's authority over the tribal folk. These are all examples of tradition. The authority of the priest in ecclesiastical matters over the devotees. These are all examples of tradition. Traditionally, from times immemorial, we are following certain things and we consider those things are proper. Now, some people even would challenge if somebody tries to say something against that. They would shoot back saying that, oh, it's not that we are doing it for first time. This our forefathers have done, our great grandfathers have done. So therefore, it's only natural that we should also follow this. So people believe in the tradition. So if something is prescribed by a tradition, you accept it to govern your behavior, and therefore authority gets legitimized. Tradition is one source. The second important source of authority is charisma. Charisma is a great magnetic appeal in the person. Now, there are people, some historical personalities, who had tremendous sway on the people. I'm reminded of one book, Laurie Collin and Dominic Lapierre's book on Freedom at Midnight. This is the title of the book. This is about what has happened in India when India got freedom and what has happened on both sides of the borders, India and Pakistan. As everybody knows, there was a communal orgy, people of one community killing other community, looting properties, molesting women, even burning children and properties, and a lot of destruction happened. Now, this was the time when there was a new government in India led by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Sardar Patel, the Iron Man of India, was the Home Minister. And these people and Mountbatten, who was requested to stay back, even Indians said, quit India, you British people, you leave India. So when we got independence, we requested them to stay for some more time so that we get used to how to govern and all that. These people were there, military generals were there, the British armies have not left the country yet, and the independent India's army and all that, they were trying to forestall. They were trying to prevent all the communal tragedy, but they could not come to any avail. Nothing could ever happen. The scale of violence was mounting. This was at this point of time, Mahatma Gandhi went on fast unto death, and finally Mahatma Gandhi, staking his life, he said he will die if these things don't stop. And there was a big change of heart all over the country and also on the other side of the border, that these killings stopped, and only to save the life of Mahatma Gandhi. And the point that is being made here is Mahatma Gandhi was not the President of India, was not the Prime Minister of India, was not the Deputy Prime Minister or Home Minister. He was nobody. Of course, he was Mahatma, all too important, but he was not occupying any formal position. But when Gandhi said something, the whole nation agreed and tried to behave the way he would ask them to behave. So this is one supreme example of charisma or great appeal. Now, the charisma may come because of the power of unfailingness in a particular person, great qualities in the person, and people implicitly believe. And whatever the Mahatma or somebody gifted with charisma says, the masses would follow. So this is the second source of authority. And the third source of authority is law and reason. Now people accept something because the law says so. We have the law expecting all of us to drive on the left hand side in India, left side of the road. Of course, in countries like America, they drive on the right side. That's again a law. So all Americans drive on the right side, all Indians drive on the left side. I think both of us are doing this because law is there. It is illegal to drive on the other side. Not only this, there is also the reason. The reason is that the law is expecting everybody to drive forward on one side only. If this doesn't happen, everybody drives reckless way, the way he likes, one on the left, one on the right, I think there will be chaos and accidents will be more. So therefore, you are also seeing the reason. The reason is that everybody should be driving on one side only so that there will not be the scope for accidents is minimized. Otherwise, there would have been lakhs and lakhs of accidents on the highways. So this is not happening because of law and also the thinking with the people that we should follow the reason. So when something is accepted on the basis of reason and law, it becomes legal, rational authority. According to Max Weber, there are three types of authority: traditional authority, charismatic authority, legal rational authority. Legal rational authority is the best form of authority to build a modern system of administration. The reason is traditional authority. The problem is traditions may not be valid all the time. Some practice gets developed in the course of social history, and it may be having absolute reason or the point of origin. That is something very meaningful. That is something very reasonable. But the societal conditions keep on changing. Under changed circumstances, some of the traditions become irrelevant. They become empty rituals. So therefore, they have to change. And therefore, this kind of authority cannot be a long-term basis of authority. The secondly, charisma. Charisma is an extreme thinking, a great belief in the unfailing powers of an individual. But some of the great charismatic leaders of the world have failed to enthuse the masses forever. Now, the famous example is that of Sir Winston Churchill. Sir Winston Churchill was the Premier of England during World War II, and he steered the nation towards victory, and he got great glory because of this great achievement. Winston Churchill also received Nobel Prize in literature. Now, this famous person was so very popular as Prime Minister during wartime. But in peacetime, he was not equally popular, and he fell from repute in the eyes of the people. So therefore, the charisma may go. I think there is a saying in English, familiarity breeds contempt. Sometimes the other person looks very attractive, whatever he says is magnetic, mesmerizing and all that. Over a period of time, you see the darker shades in the man, and then you stop believing him. So therefore, charisma also cannot be a sure method of administration, sure foundation for administration. The problem with charismatic leader is that charismatic leaders amass a lot of powers and all. And in history, there is no guarantee. I think history watches it, that a charismatic leader was not followed by equally charismatic leader as prime minister or president or king or a ruler. So therefore, as the chief executive too. And since this is not guaranteed, charismatic leadership cannot be a very important source of administration or pakka basis for administration. Therefore, the last thing, the legal rational authority, is the only basis for scientific administration, rational administration. Based on this, Max Weber makes his next contribution, and his next contribution is conceptualization of ideal type of bureaucracy. Let me just mention what this word bureaucracy is. Bureaucracy literally means bureau is office, cracy means rule by office. What it conveys is that modern administration should not be done by rulers but by rules or by offices. So there should be impersonal administration. So administration should be impersonalized so that administration will continue forever. Persons are not permanent, persons are not eternal, but a system can be eternal. So this is the basic idea in this. And Max Weber talks about a legal rational authority, and based on that, on the foundations of legal rational authority, builds a superstructure known as ideal type of bureaucracy. Max Weber is mentioning that what are the good qualities, what are the principles on which a modern system of administration should be. And he says, I think it's basically should be based on legal rational authority. And Martin Albro, who has done PhD on Max Weber, has summarized Max Weber's concept of bureaucracy by saying that bureaucracy, an administrative body of appointed officials. Now, the concept of appointed officials is important. Now, hitherto in history, officials were not appointed. They were having hereditary succession. A prime minister's son perhaps would become a prime minister. A king's son, the prince, would become the next king or next emperor. So this was the way things were happening. And Max Weber said, this is not correct. And that was a line of succession based on tradition. So instead of tradition, you should have a kind of administration where employees are selected on the basis of merit and they are appointed. So bureaucracy is a body of appointed officials, not hereditary officials. And he also talks about the basis of appointment. how people should be appointed, who should be appointed, who should not be appointed. The person should be appointed on the basis of his merit. So this is the principle of merit. I think the British people have introduced the merit principle in Indian administration long ago, perhaps much before some of the other European countries have done it. And this is the idea basically has come from Max Weber. He says people should be selected on the basis of merit, and such people will be logical, their actions will be rational, and therefore administration will give good results. One more principle or one more rule on the basis of which bureaucracy should function is impersonality. Now the decisions must be made on the basis of impersonal considerations. What it means is don't bother who the person is. We should not have favoritism, likes or dislikes. These are all things should be peeled from administration. Administrative decisions must be rationally done. Next thing he says is that there shall be a hierarchy of organization. In the organization, all people should not be of the same status and cadre. If that were to be so, what happens is nobody would take orders from other one, and everybody will be trying to exercise authority and nobody will bear responsibility. So instead of this, he said there should be hierarchy and people should be graded into different cadres, and you should fix who is the superior, who is subordinate, who should give orders and who should carry forward. This is what is known as hierarchy. And he also said that all administrative transactions must be reduced to writing. Written records is another important feature of ideal type of rationality. Now these are all features of an ideal type of bureaucracy, and now in this one more perhaps is rules and regulations. Administration should be based on rules and regulations. Now this point we can appreciate if you look at the old type of administration where ruler used to give his decisions and there was nothing written. Now what are the rules on the basis of which you have to dispose of cases? It was not there. The ruler would simply say, sometimes he will do something, next time he says this is wrong and he will do something else, suiting the convenience, his personal convenience or the convenience of the fellow sitting on the other side. So there was a lot of arbitrariness. To eliminate arbitrariness, Max Weber says there shall be objective rules, there should be written down, and there shall be hierarchy. People should be selected on the basis of merits. There should be impersonality. So all these things will try to make the bureaucratic authority very rational authority. And to make it further rational, he also makes a point that there should be strict separation between the personal and official. Now, officials should not use their personal property for office, nor the office property for personal needs. Now, in a country like India, we find many examples where officers misuse the office property, but sometimes they are also, I think you should have little charitable view of them, because sometimes they would use their personal time. The officer is expected to carry home the work of the office. I think strictly speaking, he may not, he doesn't need to do that, but he is doing either side also. So, but this is not Max Weber recommended. Max Weber said that there shall be a strict separation between official and personal, and employees must be paid. The officials should be paid, and if they are not paid, what will happen is they will try to use some feudal privileges, some exploitative practices to make a living. So therefore, to ensure that they make a living, since they are working for the office, they should be paid remuneration. So these are all various rules according to which the modern administrative system should be structured. Now Max Weber is saying that these are the features of an ideal type of bureaucracy. Ideal type of bureaucracy is only a model. Max Weber was not thinking that these are the features which are actually there in the administration of any country. But what he was mentioning is that if these features were to be there in the administration, or to the extent these features are there in a particular country's administration, that country's administration will be rational and efficient. This was the point he was making. And Max Weber claimed number of advantages for the legal, rational bureaucracy or ideal type of bureaucracy. One of them is said precision, speed, reliability, impersonality. These are all the virtues of the modern administration if the principles and the prescriptions of Max Weber are followed. Of course, these are the claimed advantages, but there are lots of points of criticism against Max Weber also. Uh, One important criticism is that Max Weber's theory of bureaucracy or legal rational authority assumes that the human nature is, I think, a combination of rational and irrational elements. Every human being is emotional as well as rational. No, we are not machines to start operating when the switch is on, and we don't stop doing things when the switch is off. Humans are not automatons. Automaton may, you may set the time. Timer is there 10 minutes later, it will stop. An AC, it is timed for 1 hour. After 1 hour, the AC stops functioning, blowing cold air. Perhaps it may pump out warm air without the condenser running. So you can do that. Machine can start and stop at the stroke of a button. But human beings have their volitions, human beings that have their emotions, human beings have their own thinking. Human machine is not a rational machine, it's not a closed box system. So therefore, point people are saying is that administration is basically a human activity. Max Weber claimed a number of advantages for his model of bureaucracy, which is known as ideal type bureaucracy. Some of them are precision, means exactness. Second, it's a speedy way of conducting administrative matters. And thirdly, the ideal type bureaucracy will be reliable. Reliability is next virtue. And these are the three important advantages that a bureaucratic organization will have over an organization or administration based on either traditional authority or charismatic authority. Critics have exposed three important deficiencies of Max Weber's model of ideal type of bureaucracy. One, it leads to impersonality. In fact, Max Weber is advocating impersonality as a kind of virtues of bureaucracy. In a country like India, in a developing country, and even more backward countries somewhere in Africa or Latin America, the thing is that these days we are saying that bureaucracy should be committed. Bureaucracy should take the side of the poor people. In fact, the whole theory of new public administration, about which somewhere you will learn, says that the administration should take the side of the poor, deprived, and helpless women, and all that. No, this if the administrator is impersonal, he will be just like a toy or a machine, sitting pretty and not taking any side in a particular issue. And this is not the kind of administration we are looking for. So I think Max Weber's model of administration, if we really succeed in building one, making all the qualities that he would recommend, there is no guarantee that the administrative system would be on the side of the poor people, helpless people, and restore balance in society by developing the less developed people, maybe taking something more from the richer sections and all that. This kind of mission is perhaps very difficult if you have a purely rational type of bureaucracy. The second important thing is red tapeism is one of the most important criticisms against bureaucracy. Insistence on rules, impersonality, and procedures and all that will lead to pretty much delay in administrative transactions, and this is supposed to be one of the major criticisms against public administration in general, which is largely based on Weberian type of bureaucracy. No, you have to have the help of some rule. You cannot extend a help to some citizen if it is not there covered under a rule. Even if an officer is convinced that some citizen seeking the help deserves it, but he should only take a decision on the base citing some rule. If it is there in the rule book, it's okay. If it is not there, he cannot. Even honest people refuse to help people because it's not covered under a rule. Therefore, the criticism is that Weber is emphasizing on rules. Some people say rules may themselves become goals. Actually, rules are there to achieve goals. But bureaucratic mindset becomes such that he overly emphasizes on rules, and maybe to save his skin or to look very rational or to be very official. If rules are not there and there is a way to help the citizen, the fellow generally refuses to do that. So therefore, there is something known as goal displacement. So goal is displaced by rules. Following rules gives a satisfaction to bureaucrat, an officer. So there are ever so many honest officers. Simply they are following rules, but they are not really helping the people. And they're also afraid to break the rules. If you break the rule, I think you attract criticism. Uh, Finally, there may be impersonality also. Impersonality is that people have to be impersonal. They should separate official from personal. Should not mix up personal and official. And in fact, there is a theory of informal organization. Human being can never function like that. Perhaps there is no officer. It requires extreme, sacrifice on the part of individual, not to think of about family at all, sitting on one seat. Now, strictly speaking, the separation would require an officer not to think about his family, not to think about his personal problems. And is it really possible? People say that human being is a continuum. The fellow sleeps, eats, and rests, and gets all the comforts in the family. And when he goes to office, is it really human to forget the whole family, all problems, and only think about the office? No, sometimes some ethical questions do come up, and our traditions are such that we have not made any serious difference between official and personal. So, therefore, in a culture like this, where informality is too much, the strict separation makes administration perhaps less human instead of humanizing the administration further. So these are some points of criticism. All in all, Max Weber is a very fascinating thinker, a very profound thinker, and in addition to the sources of authority and types of authority, typology of authority, ideal type characterization of bureaucracy, he has also made another important contribution that he examined the question in Europe. There are two parts of Europe, the Western and Eastern Europe. Capitalism and development has come in Western Europe, industrialization, and Eastern Europe was lacking behind. As a keen student of history, he explored this question as to how this has happened. He said that Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, they are there. And they are the secret for development of Western Europe. Protestant ethic is the Protestant segment of Christianity. Martin Luther's, prescription that true Christian should be hardworking and saving, frugal. And frugality are not spending excessively and working very hard are characters of a true Christian. I think the Roman Protestant Christianity has spread, and it has a wide sway in Western Europe. And he says it's because of this the Western Europe could take a lead over Eastern Europe. And even today, the East European countries are less advanced compared to West European countries. I think he answered this question. Maybe this is not the only version as to how West has taken a lead over the East. There are ever so many interpretations of this, but this is one very serious interpretation. And like this, there are many insights from Max Weber. Just to wrap up, just to rewind and recap the discussion we had. Max Weber is one of the major thinkers. He was a German and of a Jewish origin, and he has made lots of contributions across social sciences, and his writings are encyclopedic. He has not only made contributions to academics, he has also made contributions to practical politics, and by authoring a constitution and by founding a political party, a major political party of Germany. And Max Weber has written with an incisive flair and encyclopedic sweep. I think Max Weber, therefore, is still remembered as a great contributor to the rich ideas, rich repertoire of ideas on management and administration. This is what we can, remember about Max Weber, the German sociologist, who is truly considered the preceptor of the ideal type of bureaucracy. This has infused, I think, almost most of the modern administrators or administrative systems are somewhere or the other borrowing from Max Weber and his rich repertoire of ideas. Thank you.